you've all just put every single button on your radio dial on the KPCC. I know that already. Very glad you came. Hope you will turn off your cell phone.
To understand that the Constitution protects everyone.
Thank you so much. Stefan Lishenko.
Greetings. My name is Stefan Contreras Lisenko. I'm the son of an immigrant. My mother, Ernestine Contreras, raised me, and I went to San Jose State University. I got a degree in business, and I just finished first year on Masters in Conflict Resolution. We run a business. 20 years I've been living in Los Angeles, and I run a clean campaign. The gentleman who spoke at the beginning of this discussion talked about how do you run your campaign. And I think it's very interesting. In the early years as an actor, I was a stand-in and a photo double for a gentleman named Lou Diamond Phillips, who we all know. Mr. Phillips would never tell you that he was a star of La Bamba. But he would show up every day before anyone else. He would show up every day, ready to work, and he was the last one to leave. He would never talk bad about someone, even if they talked bad about him. Consummate professional. In this campaign, there's been people that talk about endorsements constantly, and it insults the people of the 32nd District. It treats them like sheep, and it doesn't allow them to think for themselves. It's saying, basically, if Mr. Baca supports a certain person or the family of Mrs. Solis, you should vote for me. I speak, and I'm a voice for the people of the 32nd District. I want to empower each and every one of them. I thank you, and I will be a voice for the people, and that's what I bring to this campaign.
Mr. Mustard?
Benefits from those meetings. It's about bringing people together. Also, in several of the forums, I talk about crossing over to ideas of not only Democrat, Republican, but also Mr. Grillo, who's not here today, regarding making government smaller. Mr. Truax is not here today, but also talking about the Constitution. I think it's crossing party lines, and I've constantly talked about that in other forums, about bringing the best of all the candidates. We've got a great selection, and all of them have really positive things. I'm trying to bring all of that and headline it by being a voice. And by being a voice, it's about listening. Key is, to my platform, is to listen, take out big money out of the political arena, and be a voice after you listen.
We'd like to get your questions, as you will raise your hand. If you've got something written down on the card, the producers will come. We have another question from the audience here in El Monte. Who are you, and what would you like to know?
Hi, my name is Ryan Yu, and this is addressed for everyone on the panel. So I live in El Monte, and I've noticed that crime in the city has increased. So 2 of my neighbors were robbed within the span of 2 months. And the LA Times reported recently that the crime rate also second. What can we do to help El Monte stick with this?
Okay, let's start at the far end. Remember, this is as a member of Congress, because we're talking about a congressional seat, what you as a federally elected official could do about that. Mr. Pleitez?
Thank you. My name is Emmanuel Pleitez, and as a member of Congress, you can work on making sure that the funds are allocated properly, right? And in this case, it's about public safety. In El Monte, instead of letting police officers go, we need to make sure that we're funding, that we're putting the adequate funding to make sure we have police officers. But before we do that, we need to talk about the root of the problem. And the reason that there's crime is because we don't have enough focus on education, or enough focus on that late elementary and middle school age when students decide to go down a different path and end up dropping out. We have a dropout crisis. The dropout crisis is something we should be targeting as a long-term solution to make sure that people are educated, so that they're moving on and they're actually looking to join the workforce, instead of trying to find alternative solutions where they end up wreaking havoc on communities.
And Mr. Nadal, as a federal official, what do you think you could do about crime here?
Again, Rafael, when I'm elected, I will certainly attack the roots of the problem. And I have got to tell you, Pat, again, there is a disproportionate amount of people that are veterans, homeless in the street. Amongst this disproportionate amount of folks, there's criminality. There's people desperately looking for work. There's people desperately looking for the next meal. And so we need to attack the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is that there's a ton of people that have no way to go and nowhere to go to hide.
And Mr. Mustard?
Pat, all residents of the 32nd District need and deserve economic and educational opportunity as well as public safety. In the long term, with educational and economic opportunity, we'll have less crime. In the near term, we still need to California needs to get its fair share of federal grant funds to assist local law enforcement. We haven't been getting it. We need to get it. I will introduce legislation to see that the 32nd District does get its fair share of federal funds.
And would you also insist that that money go to law enforcement?
Well, the federal funds are typically going to be targeted to some particular program in the state. And yes, I would certainly want to be certain that there would be a substantial amount that would be going to that, and I would be coordinating with the governor's office in that regard.
Mr. Lysenko.
You know, we talk about funds and funds and funds and funds, and I have a statement that I always have been making in these last forums. It's talking about going sideways. So let's go sideways and let's go all the way to the root of the problem. And I think it's so important to really address the root of the problem at the very beginning from step A, which is family, which is getting the community together and empowering families, communities, individuals, as I talked about earlier, and putting programs together in the community and showing the youth how important that is. Once you start at the beginning, 10 years later, you don't have those problems. If you just throw funds, you're not going to have enough funds, and you're really not going to get to the root of the problem. It is stepping sideways, but we've got to do that right now. We've got to step sideways.
Mr. N.
Actually, we have two very well...
Being a hardworking individual, following ethical guidelines, implementing policies. I am the only move forward as an independent state and decrease our reliance on foreign energy. We can be on the forefront, and we've been doing that here in the San Gabriel Valley. We just need to bring together, and that's what I want to do, is be that coalition builder. I know who the people are. I know who the movers and shakers are. And
You talk about effective leadership. What is effective leadership when you take $125,000 and you spend it, for example, in liquor from your office holder account?
If voters care about the real economic crisis that's affecting them today, we need someone that's serious about those issues, that actually knows what's going on, and that's from the district.
That's such a great exchange of ideas. I'm running for Congress because I have a commitment to ensuring that everybody has a voice in the society and a chance to achieve the American dream. That's why I worked on so many issues and ways to improve the quality of life for people in this
consideration. Thank you.
Stefan Contreras-Lysenko.
Back to my example of sideways. Let's start at the bottom. Educating communities, students, the youth, moving up to be good people, good citizens, and good employees. Back that employees by the Free Choice Act. We need unions. Right now, big business is out of control. It wants to crack unions. GM stock is at $1 today, and they're pressuring, trying to bust unions left and right. No one is supporting the people, and because you don't support the workers, you have problems of unemployment, you have people losing their homes. I'm going to bring that example right home, right here, right now. Yesterday, I announced that I got an announcement from my employee of 5 years, that I now am unemployed. Yesterday, I called EDD to find out my employment benefits that I was going to get for unemployment. And I had a private meeting with my wife to figure out how I was going to make ends meet, just like the people in the district. It's affecting me. I next got on the phone with the mortgage holder of my home. And you know what? You can't get them on the phone, and they're not going to do any changes unless you're late on a payment. Well, quite frankly, I'm going to be late. So it's a situation where all these rules and regulations everyone's talking about, and you're talking about the situation of fixing housing crisis, everyone's running around chasing their tail. I'm telling you, I'm affected directly today. I'm affected directly, and it's a situation where someone's got to get some transparency and find out exactly what's going on. Because quite frankly, there's a game going on, and I'm getting affected, and so are the people in the 32nd District. And to answer your question directly, what I'm going to do different than anyone else is listen, listen, and listen.